can't stop fucking coughing or talking a lot, and then I want to cough.
You know what helps with the coughing? No, in between each cough, if you just whisper, "Vote for Stu," it helps. I swear.
That just gets me horny.
Mini-sode.
Watch out! Here it comes. Watch out! Here it comes. Watch out! Here it comes. Watch out!
You know, I know last week I called the sweep for both series, idiot me, but I'm actually really glad it's like they're all tied up. Do you know what I mean? Because they've been fun, they've been entertaining, and like literally, like it's actually been a little bit of a relief to go, you know, Golden State's not going to smash this team in this series.
I'm surprised, man. I'm surprised the Warriors got a game at Oracle.
A lot to talk about that. But before we jump into it, I just want to give a shout out to any new listeners out there listening to the Courtside Podcast. This is, of course, our mini-sode. You can catch all our shows down at the website, www.crtsde.podbean.com. Down there you'll find links to the Facebook page, to Spotify links, all the madness. We're here pretty much 24/7, and minisodes are a part of the bundle with our regular shows. Plus, we do a whole variety of other different NBA entertainment for your ears. That being said, before we jump into playoff talk, a lot of rumors flying around this week. Look, I know you two being the regular LA heads, the Laker fans, have recently copped a little bit of flack about maybe so much LA talk on the show. I actually want to have some LA talk with you guys for a change. I don't know, this is the way I'm reading it. Obviously, real Laker fans are a little bit concerned with what's going to happen with Julius Randle. He's obviously a restricted free agent, to my understanding. I actually think this is a really good safety net for the Lakers to be in. I'm looking at this scenario like I'm a Lakers fan, right? So I'm looking at this whole thing with Julius Randle, like got to give the guy huge credit. Like that whole off-season or working on his body and getting fit, like it really did save him, I think, from being traded earlier in the year. Obviously, Dallas Mavericks had interest in him as well, but no deal ever eventuated. And I really feel that was the payoff from his hard work during the off-season. I think this is a good place for the Lakers because you can then use that money that you were going to throw at Randle, you know, at a LeBron James, at Paul George, you know, to really get that deal done. He becomes the safety net, Randle, because if you don't get that, you know, you can match anything that anyone throws at him anyway.
Yep.
Insightful as always.
I mean, so that's science by Wayno. Yeah, look, that's exactly what it is. I mean, we're going to let him go and test the market. We're not going to put a value on him. We're going to go and let him test the market, as happens every time the restricted free agents. He's going to be courted. I think the offer sheets will be, you know, thick and fast come midnight on the embargo, that he can go and start talking to teams. And we're not going to be surprised by that. You know, he's young, he's athletic, he's a rare combo, but he's going to demand a lot of money, and we're going to see what we can buy with that money. And if we can't spend it, we'll spend it on him.
I actually think he's gone. I listened to his interview on Burge's podcast, and I just got the feeling more than ever that he wants to go. He's happy to go. I think the Lakers are going to choose between him and Kuz, and they're going to choose Kuz, and I think he knows that.
Yeah.
I just don't want him to go. I don't want to see him go to another team and average 20 and 10.
I mean, that's what I was going to say. That's what's going to happen with Randle, right? Like, he's going to go to another team. He's going to blow up a bit, right?
I always want the Lakers just to give him to match. Maybe sign Paul George. You know, let Lopez go and just play a bit of small ball. Play Randle at the. He's just one of my favourites, and that's all it is. I just don't want him to go. He's one of my favourites. I just think he's going to be really good. Whoever gets him is getting a quality teammate, quality player, a guy who's just realised that he's got to put the work in, and it paid off this year. He's only getting better. I mean, he's a bully down low. He can handle the rock. He's already working on his J. There was footage of him today working on his J. I just don't want him to go on. I'm actually quite scared.
He's still a couple of seasons off, I think, from reaching his peak as well. I mean, he's still got to put a lot of things together, and that's scary as well to know that you're going to let somebody like that go. I think management might be a little bit iffy about it after D'Angelo Russell leaving as well. I don't know if they're going to be willing to give up too many of these young assets and let them go flourish somewhere else. I don't know. I kind of like to think that we are going to retain him. I just, whether that means we go completely over the cap or we can, God, it'd be good if we can offload Deng. I don't know how, but I don't know. In my heart of hearts, I think Lakers management do want to keep him, and I think that he's a priority. But the testing phase has to happen to ascertain his worth.
They have had contact with him. No one knows what that contact is or what they said, but along with you, I'd love to see Den go, but the problem is you're going to find a team like, yeah, we'll take Den, but can you throw in Ingram or fucking Randle? It's like, well, no, can you just take Den?
Yeah.
It's just it's going to be hard to offload him, and it might cost us Randle. I know Magic really likes him. I don't know if that's enough to save him. Could we trade him for DeMarcus? Like, I know he's a free agent, but could they come, could he do what Chris Paul did and
sign and trade?
Do a sign and trade.
That's not bad if you're the Pelicans. I mean,
the only thing that worries me for DeMarcus is the fact that he did his Achilles. And he's such a big unit. Yeah.
I don't think it's going to matter.
I really don't want us to stuff this free agency period up.
Yeah, it's a massive one for us. It'd be good to, if we can get DeMarcus for cheaper than what it would cost us to re-sign Randle, which is probably likely. There are going to be some young teams who want to strengthen their core, and he could get friggin' John Wall money, and DeMarcus isn't going to get that. So if we can, if we just have to reluctantly let him go, but we can pick up somebody who, if healed correctly after this injury, is your all-star starting centre. I mean, that's not bad on the cheap. So, there's wins to be had as much as I will hate to see him go.
I think that's going to play a little bit different to you guys with DeMarcus. I don't think the Achilles injury is going to... I mean, yes, it is a little bit of a red flag, but, I mean, the way you guys are bouncing back from Achilles injuries these days is, it's not the end of a career, and he's certainly got a surplus of talent. This is going to determine, we're really going to see what DeMarcus wants. This is his first time of really picking and choosing where he can go, and he can certainly take big money with lesser teams, or I don't think we rule out the Pelicans deal. I mean, that's definitely a situation he could walk back into. And, as far as a team moving forward, I mean, we've talked on previous shows this year, during the playoffs, the potential with him in that lineup. I just think you're going to get shit teams throw massive amounts of money at DeMarcus, taking the gamble. That's all. I can't see him getting, subpar money, Achilles injury and all.
Have you guys ever heard of Ryan Miller at Journo?
Yeah, familiar.
Well, he reported today that the Pelicans have told DeMarcus that they're not going to offer him a lot of money or what he expects. And then he reported that DeMarcus has already decided to go to the Lakers. And he also reported that Paul George has already decided to go.
I'm not buying that.
I mean, I'm not buying it either. I can't see anyone offering DeMarcus what he thinks he should get.
Yeah, I really can't. I think maybe in a season, if he gets a 1 year off the sheet and he signs it and it's a show and prove, I get that. But he's a big dude who is an athletic big, and he's a stretch. He loves to fake that three and drive the lane, and a lot of that speed and a lot of that's carrying 285 pounds. It's got to be proven. It's just, I just think in the economy where you've got guys being paid so much money and your contract lengths are getting shorter and shorter, I still think you'll get a big 1 year deal, but I don't think it'll be longer than 1 year.
Even if the speed's a factor, though, he has a back to the basket game. Do you know what I mean? You dump him in the post and he goes to work. He's so versatile. I mean, the Achilles only really the speed and getting up and down the court. We've seen much slower players. I just can't see him getting a low ball deal. I mean, the only low ball deal he gets is if he decides he wants to go to a situation where he can win.
Yeah, I think the money will be good, but I just don't think the length of the contract is going to be something that he's going to have much say over. I think he's going to ask for it. I think his management are going to want it, but I don't think he's going to get it.
There's only one owner that'll give it to him, and that's Cuban.
I could see that.
I reckon Cuban.
Who would? Sorry.
I reckon the Knicks would as well.
Can they fit him in? Otherwise, I think they would too.
I don't know if they could fit him in, but I reckon they would as well.
Yeah.
I reckon Tom Thibodeau would too.
What's that?
I said I think Tom Thibodeau would too. Sorry.
Jesus.
Segue.
Surgically repaired All-Stars, yeah.
That was my surgically repaired segue. Sorry, Vince.
No, I just think Cuban. I know Cuban's interested in Randle, and I definitely think he'd pay DeMarcus.
I could see that happening, and I could see Cuban going, you know what, let's make a run at both of them. You know, let's turn.
For sure. He is so impatient. He does not want to do what we've done and wait 5-6 years.
Dude, I could totally see him do that. I mean, look, they haven't been known really to build through the draft. I mean, Dirk aside, I obviously get that, but they don't really build through the draft. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's okay. They realise they've kind of got a now player with Dirk Nowitzki, and you know that now time is now well and truly expired. But you know it served its purpose. He got them a chip, and now it's on to the next one. All right, I want to talk about some BS rumours. First, I'll just get your guys' thoughts on it because I don't want to fill the show with rant. But obviously through the week, a big talking point, especially among Timberwolves fans, was there was a rumour that Tom Thibodeau, obviously the head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the GM, Scott Layden, got into a screaming match over a team issue resulted in Thibs throwing a computer monitor through an office glass window. So, I mean, look, take that for what it's worth. We don't know when this stuff takes place.
I can see Thibs doing that.
I can see him doing that too. And I'm okay with it. Then we had a report, I'd say about 3 or 4 days ago, basically saying that from an internal, I can't remember the quote exactly because I'm assuming the quote was a half-assed quote, but it was basically saying that a franchise guy, Karl Anthony Towns, is basically not on the same page as, you know, the direction of the team and Coach Tom Thibodeau. This has led to, man, I've never seen a franchise just, like, they've been shit for 15, 16 years. And it's not even like they haven't drafted well. Like, there's been so much problematic issues with this Timberwolves franchise for so freaking long that they finally get a decent coach. He finally builds them a playoff roster. Okay, they didn't go as far as they would have liked to. I just think maybe their expectations need a bit of a reality check. I didn't buy these reports for a second, but I think all these calls for Coach Thibs' head is absurd. I mean, I don't know when this situation happened or if this situation even happened with Karl Anthony Towns and Thibs, even if that's who it's in reference to. I mean, if this is in the middle of a playoff series against Houston, I can totally understand it. Totally understand it. We've talked, I know you for a fact, Vince, have talked about, you know, teams go at each other all the time. I just think it's a little bit absurd from T-Wolves fans to be
okay, but say there's truth to it, right?
Yeah.
Say there's unrest and say there's truth to it.
Mm-hmm.
Your decision comes down to, do I keep this potential perennial all-star and anchor to a championship? And we know that championship teams have super athletic bigs, by and large. The majority of them do,
sure.
Or at least have done. Or do we get rid of our coach?
I mean,
it's gone. If this is a legit report, I think you. But
is that the only option? Like, you don't think that? Like, do they not think that Thibs is like trying to like fix the situation?
Oh, he may very well be, but if it's appeared that there's a rift and it's just not going to work, or he's a player who can't play with that coach, or he's a coach that can't get the most out of a player. I mean, I thought the way that Karl Anthony Towns was utilised in the playoffs was shithouse.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a coaching decision. That's coaching. So if there is unrest behind the scenes, I can probably see why, having watched their series. And again, knowing Minnesota, and you mentioned the 15 years or whatever of barrenness that they've had, and, you know, they had glimmers of hope with Kevin Love, and that, you know, obviously didn't come into fruition. They've got to cling to what they have, and it might be a system thing. And if it's a system thing and it's a coach thing, I let go of the coach, not the talent.
Well, I mean, I think that's inevitable. Do you know what I mean? I think that franchises go that way like 90% of the time, right? Like, I can't even recall a situation where it's been really in reverse over the last 10 years. Really, that I think that really springs to mind. Look, think I said to Vince the other night, when we were talking about this, honestly, if Timberwolves win a championship, it's probably not going to be with Thibs. Do you know what I mean? That's the length of time it's probably going to take this Timberwolves team to get there. It's probably not going to be Thibs at the end of the day. I suppose my big problem with this is just the blatant disrespect because although he might not be the coach that is hoisting the championship trophy above his head at the end of the day, he's certainly one laying the blueprint for it.
You don't buy the story that there's unrest, correct?
I'm not sold on it, is what I'm saying.
I think there's a little nugget of truth to it because the Timberwolves fired Karl Towns' personal trainer without telling him. Now, this is your franchise centre. He found out, like we all found out, they fired his trainer. He was pissed off. He's still pissed off. If he's your franchise guy, he wants to be treated with a bit of respect. This is what it's all about. And I reckon Stu's on the money too. I don't think Towns was too happy with the way he was used in the playoffs. So I think Thibs really has got some work to do to smooth the relationship over because it was his decision when he should have probably just called Towns in and said, listen, what are your thoughts on doing this? I think Thibs can be his own worst enemy sometimes. Imagine if they did that to Kobe Bryant.
He'd probably request a trade to Chicago, right?
Fucking oath he would.
Too soon? Sorry.
No, we got another few chips out of him, mate. We're happy. But he fucking would. He would turn around and say, get stuffed. I'm out of here. Show me some respect. I'm the franchise guy.
Yeah. Look, I agree. I agree with both of you. But, LA also showed that, that they didn't cave to those demands and they stuck it out with him and they did work it out. And I feel like this is a situation that, can be mirrored in Minnesota as well. I do defend Thibs quite a lot because I really do like him as a coach, but I also do feel that he is kind of like a last of a dying breed of NBA coach in the league as well.
Thibs I like Thibs as well, but he needs to take Karl Anthony Towns out for dinner and a real expensive one and pay for it and just smooth it out. If it takes 5 hours, so be it. Smooth this thing over. Otherwise, it's one of them's gone and it won't be Towns, I don't think.
I'll tell you what I thought was quite interesting was, and you saw me call him out on Twitter.
That was gold, Benson. You won the internet that day.
I missed it all. Tell me, fill me in.
Embiid taking a shot. He said that man bun's just in the league to get dunked on, and it was a picture of Baines, and just a stab at him because I can't remember who took it at him. He tweeted it while he was obviously watching the Celtics and the Cavs, and I think Tristan Thompson might have banged one on him or put one back on him.
Sure.
And Embiid tweeted in real time just saying, man bun's only in the league to get dunked on. So I just replied with an image of Baines pretty much pinning Embiid against the backboard.
No.
It was fucking gold.
Hey, Eastern Conference Finals, how many, what's the stats on Embiid for the Eastern Conference Finals right now?
Yeah, he's killing it in the Caribbean.
Wow. Yeah, I don't get these players throwing shots at guys that are still playing.
I'll tell you what, the clip of Baines and Horford today was hysterical. Have you seen it?
I have not.
Man, they're jumping for a rebound, an offensive rebound, and Baines tips the ball. Thompson and Love are in amongst it, and Horford gets the ball. Horford just tips it back to Baines. Baines is completely alone under the basket. But instinctively, he's not a scorer. And so he looks at Horford and see if he's going to pass it out to him or Rozier or someone. And the bench are in the background, like screaming at him to turn around. Open lane, open dunk. Could have thrown it down. And it was at a pivotal point of the game. And Horford's literally pointing at the basket, like, turn the fuck around, you idiot. And by the time all of this happens, I think he gets blocked. It was really bad.
Excellent.
It's insane. It was like it was over every sports website this afternoon, just saying that.
I actually remember
Baines had his own Forrest Gump moment where the whole crowd's pointing at him to run the opposite direction, like at the football game in Forrest Gump.
Hey, we've all been space jammed every now and then.
Fuck, man. Honestly, it was ridiculous. But he's just not a scorer. It was funny.
Let's be fair. He was born in New Zealand. Shout out to Tanae Wilson Brown.
Yeah. It all makes sense.
Sorry. I remembered the other topic I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Another question for you guys. Does Kawhi Leonard hate cheerleaders?
Oh, I would think not.
Sounds cryptic. Explain.
Well, I mean, I just find it a little bit ironic. Not ironic, a little bit suspect, rather. I put my Sherlock Holmes on. My Sherlock Holmes on? My Sherlock Holmes hat on.
Okay.
Was Flip Sanders with you?
Possibly.
Oh, is that what he said?
Possibly. Anyway, yeah, so I don't know if you guys have seen the word around town is Spurs are hoping to mend the fences with Kawhi Leonard and offer him a supermax deal. I don't know what that means, but I feel like I should say it with more force. A supermax deal. 5-year deal worth around $219 million, which is interesting. And then they fired all their cheerleaders.
Right.
I mean, I suppose when you're going to throw a deal like that, you need to make some cuts, right? So either that or Kawhi just did not like I think they're called the Silver Stars. Maybe they should have been Gold Stars instead, and they'd still have a job. But weird. What the hell's going on in San Antonio this year? This is crazy.
They're just turning into a rabble, clearly.
I mean, they just fired all the cheerleaders. So now...
That's weird. What's going on? What's wrong with the cheerleaders? It's not like they're dancing naked. What's going on?
Is this a Me Too diversity thing? What's going on?
I don't know. It's weird. So they said, and look, if you follow any of the cheerleaders on Twitter, not that I do, I've just heard that's something you can do. But if you do, they're all like super puzzled and like basically we're told, they're going in another direction. So like kind of fed that line. So apparently now all you're going to see is like more sort of family safe, family diverse cheerleaders.
Becky Hammond's gone and hired a whole bunch of hot dudes.
How long have you been stalking these cheerleaders for, Wayno?
Yeah, I know.
Look, you say stalking, I say keeping a safe eye from a distance.
Dear me.
You never know when you get called up.
It's Twitter. It's Twitter. They can't see him wanking.
Oh, my God.
Silver stars, more like gold stars.
Oh, my God. I can't. I've got to mute.
Oh, my goodness.
San Antonio's going to shit. I am serious. If you're a Spurs fan, and I've got quite a few mates that are, they've been like the peachy keen, just solid, you know what you're going to get, dependable, and the last 6 months have been horrendous.
It's almost like it's a totally different franchise, right?
Crazy.
I don't know.
Does Pop come back?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
Nothing will surprise me anymore. They just fired their cheerleaders, Vince. When does that ever happen? I've never heard that happen.
No, neither have I. It's crazy. But I don't know. It's got a funny feeling. Pop might just go, you know what, fuck it. I've been through enough.
I have that weird feeling as well that he might just go, I'm not into it. And you can understand why. You can completely validate, and you couldn't begrudge the guy. He has had a Hall of Fame career, arguably the greatest basketball coach of all time. So if he decides to, good for him. Wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. He doesn't want to go rebuild.
Crazy. Well, look, enough speculation. We've got the NBA draft coming up just around the corner, so I'm sure we'll delve right back into it then. We should touch on some playoffs. Yeah, so after my pitiful predictions last week, which all came crashing down during the week, much to the delight of Stu and Vince, I'm sure, everything's tied up. Everything's tied up, and I'll tell you what, as much as Mark Jackson and Van Gundy drive me nuts in the commentating, I think they were spot on in Game 4, Cavs versus Boston, when they were talking about Kyle Korver, because, man, I tell you what, he might not be the most athletic guy, but you certainly get everything you pay for with his effort. And he was like a key piece in that win.
Well, guess what, mate? When you shoot the ball like he can, you don't have to be athletic.
He's tough, though. If you check him out when they're showing the cameras before the jump ball, before the tip off, the guy's got, like, he and Kevin Love, maybe it's more noticeable on white dudes, I don't know, they are scarred up. Like, their arms are all scratched, red. They've got, like, literally they've got scars all over their arms. And you don't see it when the camera's zoomed out, but when the camera zooms in, these are guys who are, physical. Kyle Korver is obviously one of the greatest shooters that we've had in the modern era of basketball, but he's pretty freaking tough as well.
It's funny. I was talking to my buddy Craig, who's I'll say a Cavs fan,
He's a Alonso ball fan.
He is an Alonso ball fan. I was saying that we're both talking, and it's like, you know, what me and Benson said the other day, and you disagreed. The Cavs just had to win at home. And it just feels like someone's got to pinch a road game. The first team to pinch it probably wins the series.
Yeah.
But the only thing that worries me with the Cavs, can Thompson keep up this kind of effort? Korver has to keep hitting shots. It's just such a difference when they play like that. And George Hill has to hit some shots. He has to keep the defense honest.
Yeah, I mean,
LeBron's going to do. LeBron's going to do what he's going to do. And if Love's not hitting shots, keep shooting, but also keep rebounding. It's so important.
They're a Jekyll and Hyde team, aren't they?
They really are. It's frustrating as hell.
You know, JR said it, I think, the best the other day, I think, before game 4. It's like, you know, the 2 days rest, like, really helped that squad.
Did he hit any... What did he shoot?
Himself in the foot?
Himself in the foot, did you say?
Yes.
He is so...
No, wait, update. He missed that as well, Vince. He missed that as well.
He missed that as well, yeah, typical. I'd trade his ass straight after the playoffs.
Yeah, he gives them a lot of zeros.
On the series.
He has been pretty disappointing.
I just don't think he works on anything. I think he practices because he has to. After the game, it's just like, game's done. I'm going home or I'm going clubbing. He looks to me like I have no evidence, but he just strikes me as a bloke who just says, "Fuck this, I'm out of here. I've done my job. Not working on anything." Vince,
I was just thinking, the Celtics' biggest hurdle just seems to be winning on the road. Like, that's their hurdle this series. Like, they just need to win one in Cleveland. They win one in Cleveland, I feel like.
Well, Cleveland just has to win one in Boston. I think I don't know, man. Cleveland get you thinking, geez, maybe they can pinch the one in Boston. But like Benson said, they're Jekyll and Hyde, man. I don't know.
So I was going to say, I always, and I said it in the last show, like, I just feel super uneasy betting against LeBron. You just expect him to be representing the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals. You just do. I mean, it's almost impossible to think, and it's going to be weird when it's all said and done and his career winds down. I can't count him out. I've still got the Celtics winning the series purely off the back of home court advantage, but I say that with no confidence because on the other side of the court is LeBron James.
It's funny, like, remember when, like, a 40-point game got you, like, a contract, or a 40-point game was, like, a career high? It was, like, something that, like, players really hung their hat on. And he just has 40-plus games, like, so effortlessly. Like, that game 4, I think he had 20-something. Man, I'm pretty sure it was, like, 26 or 28 at the half. And I was like, where did that come from? This is ridiculous. Like, so effortlessly.
That's what people who... And I won't get into the Jordan and the debate and everything like that, but that's what people, I don't think, realise or appreciate, that he's just a different kind of player, that he's never been a pure scorer. He's never wanted to be. He's never tried to be. But if he had have wanted to have been, genuinely believe that he could have averaged 40 a season. 40 a season. 20 and a half for him would be a piece of piss. I genuinely believe it. And he's doing it in season 15. It's fucking mental.
Yeah.
I actually thought there would be a year in his career where he'd average a triple-double. I thought he could pull that off.
Same.
Yeah, what an amazing player, and he's going to look good in yellow next year.
Yeah, give me a spell.
I really hope he's so. Man, I hope so.
Sorry.
I was just saying, no, it was interesting that you said that, Vince. I was only just looking at some stats the other day, and he and Jason Kidd as well, never did it. God, he came close.
Yep.
And you kind of just wish they did. But anyway, I still think LeBron could have. I don't know. Anyway.
Pretty disappointed game 3. I don't know if you guys caught all of that game, and a little bit game 4 as well, actually. Just the mainly game 3, Horford and Morris. They didn't bring it. That first game in Cleveland, they didn't bring it, and Horford went quiet. They kind of started feeding him a bit more in that second quarter in game 4, which was good and getting going. But you know what? The most frustrating thing about that is Boston. They probably missed a good 12 shots right at the rim. Like, I'm not even talking the missed dunks. Oh man, and that would have been the game. That would have been the game. They would have won that game off those points. And I'm sure Brad Stevens will remind them that. I mean, it just hit a point in that game where I was just like, you know what? If you if you're going to play like this, I'm probably grabbing Tatum, and I'm just giving the superstar players. Like, I'm just going to run everything through them. And I really felt like that, if you're going to drop that game like that, then you might as well give something to one of those young kids, because they are a little bit too deer in headlights. Do you know what I mean? So they don't know any better. So I would just tell them attack the rim.
You're right, though.
When you're giving up like double digits at points at the rim like that, like Brad Stevens must have been doing flips out the back.
Oh man, I was doing them watching it on television. Some of those were bunnies, man. Like they were just, I think off the tip in game 4, I think it was the one that Horford missed, like straight off the bat, first 2 points of the game, and it was
game
like
4, yep.
Like it ricocheted off the backboard like it was a bullet. It was insane. I don't know if it was nerves or what, but you add all those up, and it's cool that you mentioned it, because I was going to mention it, that they're losing these games on, or they're letting the Cavs get distance on them because of chippy shit that they should hit. Just road nerves, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm expecting Boston to take everything at home, but yeah, I am uneasy about my Boston pick now. And probably for all the reasons you mentioned before, Stu, so yeah.
I just think all the pressure's on Boston.
I think, the tables are turned for sure. Like, there's the momentum.
Pressure's on them.
Yeah, the momentum swung. Boston can't afford to make those same mistakes again. And, I mean, they're pretty well coached. They probably won't. Can LeBron get the help? I said before the game, if Korver comes out, if he hits 15 to 20 points, they win this game.
My thing is, with the pressure piled on, can Terry Rozier and Brown and Tatum keep playing well?
Rozier's gone really quiet all of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
Don't like that. I don't know if it's because Smart stepped up so much. He was obviously a key factor in that Milwaukee series, but I just feel like he's kind of leaving it at home in this one.
Well, it's big moments, mate. I mean, he's a young player, so but we'll see. A bit of home cooking might straighten him out a little.
Yeah. Well, let's jump to the Western Conference. Of course, we're talking about Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets, all tied up 2 apiece.
Yeah, I'm starting to get a little worried. I really don't want to see D'Antoni in the NBA Finals. But in saying that, if he did lose, it would just bring me so much joy. And I actually wish he'd had a Twitter account that particular day. But look, I think the Warriors dropped the ball today, big time.
Yeah.
Fourth quarter, I was sagging off, bad time management. And now I hired Steve Kerr, but I didn't expect bad management towards the end of that quarter. So I think it was more of kudos to CP3 and James Harden, played very well. And Trevor Ariza hit the big shot. But I tend to think it was more the Warriors just dropping the ball on this one. Yeah. And I think they'll come out breathing fire next game. I don't care if it's in Houston.
Yeah, no, I'm exactly the same. I tend to look at this with all due respect, and it's a shitty thing to say because, we've got some Rockets fans who listen to the podcast and are down at the page, but I just think it's a case of the fact that Warriors lost that game, not so much that Houston won it. But, that lesson learned, guys. I mean, you can't, no gap and no safety net is safe with those guys on the court, with James Harden, with CP3, with, spreading the floor with shooters like Trevor Ariza and Eric Gordon and, Gerald Green and these guys. I mean, this is a team who can get back into any game. And, I think the Warriors just lost it today. I don't credit to Houston, they came back, but God, man, I'd be very surprised if the Warriors allowed that to happen again.
Yeah, look, I think
how small are these rotations?
I know.
Fuck, these guys are going to be wrecked. They are going to be wrecked.
Yeah, I just figured that, I don't know, given the rotations, you'd want this series over in 5, no more. I mean, you don't want this going any longer than it has to because of the mileage and the legs, and you want to get your rest in before the big dance. Too much court time.
The substitutions and the lineups and that for Golden State. I mean, and I think the key guy in all this and the guy they missed the most in today's Game 4 was obviously Iguodala out with his knee, and veteran player, been there before, knows the system inside out and is a great defensive guy for them. I mean, puts a lot of pressure on the Houston shooters. And actually, I'm going to give you a shout out to one of the courtside listeners, and you may have heard of him, Justin Hamilton, who I was talking to today, and we were sort of discussing about today's game and just the momentum that got knocked out of Golden State in like that second quarter with, Curry had 3 fouls, Durant started missing shots, Clay, hurt his wrist, and then, it just really broke their rhythm for that second quarter. I don't think they sort of really recovered from that at all. The thing I like, though, I hate to say it, Vince, the thing I'm actually liking a little bit out of this Houston squad, though, is that I like the fact that Chris Paul's pushing Harden. I don't know if that makes much sense, but
I don't.
not physically, not physically pushing, but
No, I know what you mean.
he's in his face.
He needs it.
He does. He's in his ear, and we touched on it earlier in the year when this signing went down, and obviously we go back to that Spurs series where they just. They absolutely wet the bed. I think that's the biggest thing with this Houston squad this year to last year is that essentially they're the same team, but I don't think you're going to have that big mental breakdown because they have a leader like Chris Paul on this squad.
I'll tell you what, I got the last game they played, Chris Paul had that first half where he was 1 for 10 or something, or 1 for 7.
Yeah.
James Harden, I thought, here we go. But he came good in the second half, I think. But I was just a little starting to, I'm not going to say worry because I don't really care. But, I was just watching that with interest.
I think Chris Paul's very aware of his legacy. I think he's very aware that, to really cement himself amongst an all-time great point guard, he really needs to get to the dance. If not hoist a trophy, he needs to get to the finals. So, I think he's going to go out shooting, go out swinging, go out playing well. And I don't know. I've never been a massive fan of his. I like the fact that he's a pure point, and I always have done. But I don't know. I think it'd be I like the fact that he's not injured as well. I like the fact that I just hope he stays healthy. And I think this series has probably highlighted to me, only this year though, that at this point at the end of the season with 4 teams left, I would say that the Warriors have the least depth of the 4 teams left.
Oh, I totally agree. And now they've got bigger issues because Thompson has got a sore ankle and he's been diagnosed with a strained knee.
It kind of just occurred to me during this series, I'm like, wow, if the big 3 aren't on, or if they're subbing off, or 2 are hot, or 1's hot, whatever, there's nothing really coming off the bench that's going to keep them in games, with all due respect to, Livingston and Looney and these guys and McCall. They're good players, don't get me wrong, but if they're going to go to the finals and they're going to go against the Cavs, they're deeper. The Celtics, they're deeper. Or they've got to get through Houston, they're deeper. And if that becomes a factor as this series, and they allow this series to get longer, it could really be their demise.
It's an interesting series this though. I am I know I called the sweep, but I'm actually glad it looks like it might even go to 7.
Why isn't Quinn Cook getting any minutes? He had such a good season.
No idea. I love him. I reckon he's an awesome player.
Yeah, just, again, what the fuck is going on with these rotations? He can put points up in a hurry. Just don't understand the thinking there.
Cook, I've noticed at the end of a lot of games, and look, the Warriors blow out a lot of games, or they have comfortable leads at the end of a lot of games this season, and Cook was on the court at the end of a lot of games. And a lot of the superstars in the league would come up and give him love at the end of the game. And I thought that was really weird. I'm like, is he someone's cousin? Is he related to somebody? But I just thought, it's really weird that they like Chris Paul and guys from other teams who don't need to come and talk to a second year and come and, show them any love or anything like that. But they were coming over to him. But he hits all the summer circuits and does all the AAU stuff and everything like that. And he's got a real good rep. And so, in saying that, Kerr's got someone on his roster who can really relieve some, and spell some guys some time on the bench, and he's not using him. It's bizarre. Exciting times, though. We're potentially 2 weeks away from adding NBA championship to Nick Young's Wikipedia page.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Good Lord. Wow.
That should never be a sentence.
And he's the type of player who will wear that championship ring everywhere he goes. Clubs, on TV, you name it. I only scored 4 points, but hell, I'm champion.
But what are 4 points? The swaggiest points of all. Hey, just a thought on Chris Paul, right? Because like I know you guys obviously aren't the biggest Chris Paul fans, and I've been a Chris Paul fan for a while, but like even he annoys me at times. Like even I just go, "What are you doing?" But I always associate like Chris Paul, like growing up, like I always associate him with John Stockton and the Jazz, right? Because if we're all honest with each other and we talk to our mates and they're honest, like no one liked Utah. Growing up, like the phrase "bumfuck Utah Jazz" like is synonymous in Australian culture. But it's always that thing. Like once those guys retired, it's like we all had this mad respect for John Stockton. But when he was playing, we hated his guts. We hated John Stockton. We hated Karl Malone. I think it's going to be the same with Chris Paul, right? It's going to be like once Chris Paul hangs it up, we go like, man, he was a good point guard.
No, not really.
No. I think it's going to happen 100%.
No, look, I've got plenty of respect for Chris Paul, but I don't know, I'm just not a huge fan. But, you know, saying they were like Utah, there was only one kid in my high school who was a Utah fan.
Was he like a really white kid called Steve?
I can't remember I know his last name, I can't remember his first name.
What's his last name? What's his last name?
He was a really white dude, actually.
Are we talking white? I was going to say, are we talking white or are we talking pasty, though? There's a difference.
Oh, Trent. Trent was his name.
Trent.
No, that was...
There you go. That was going to be my second guess.
Classic, classic pasty name.
Wasn't a bad baller, though. Could play ball.
It's probably fundamentally sound, right?
He was good. Only Utah fan I've ever met in my life. Oh, actually, no. Yeah, no, he's... Well, I can't remember. I'll shut up now. I'm rambling.
Respect the Trent.
Look, I've got respect for him because he bunnied up over Dwight Howard and put him on a poster.
Trent?
Yeah, Gary Trent.
CP3.
Ah!
Come on, man.
Sorry, it's late. I'm sorry.
It's the medication. It's the medications kicking in.
It explains the whole last hour and a half.
Here it comes.